recorded March 18th, 2024. Good afternoon, Brody. Good afternoon, Andrea. Good evening, Rod. How's everyone doing?
Hey there.
Living the dream. Don't everybody go at once. Hey,
I was trying
I'll tell
to
you
stagger.
how I am.
Yeah, go.
Yeah, I was like, it's hard to do sometimes. We need like a pointer system. Okay, you go. Or
Yeah.
you go.
Because everyone's
Like,
always
like a baton, like in a relay
how's
race. Yeah.
everybody, and then we're all like excited to talk at the same time. But
Well,
anyway, yeah.
we've been doing this long enough that you guys should have gotten the cues. If I say
Yeah,
your name
right,
first,
right.
then generally I'm going to ask what you're doing first. So,
Oh my goodness, you've blown my mind. I didn't know that's how that worked.
yeah,
Now I
it's
do.
patterns,
That's
man.
awesome.
You got to watch the patterns, right?
Wow.
So I tell you what, smarts before age and beauty. So, Brody, you go first.
Oh, I'm doing a quick one. It's Monday, so I'm doing all the Monday things. Supporting my family, doing what I love, making the world a safer place in cybersecurity. That's my jam. Trying to catch up on the email barrage and get some stuff done by the end of the day. That's basically my plan for today.
When is Canada's version of spring break? Or is it like spring break is spring break everywhere, right?
Anytime
That's
it's nice
break.
outside, it's pretty much a party.
Really? The maple syrup just gets to flowing. I see.
It's like plus 16 right now, and then it's been like a gorgeous weekend. I was out on my bike yesterday, and then coming up next 4 days, we're going to get snow, which we really need. We need moisture and precipitation, and maybe I'll sneak off to the ski hill at one point. Don't tell my boss.
Okay, we won't do that.
Yeah, right.
Andrea, yourself?
Hey, he'll probably hear about it from the show.
I always find it mind-boggling that it's 80 degrees here and somewhere it's still snowing. I don't know why I think that's crazy. That's how weather works, but I'm just always like, I'm running around in shorts and flip-flops. But it's good. Spring break. My Edward knows my nephew was here over the weekend for his spring break, so I got to hang out with him a little bit before he went back to school. And today I spent some time with my bestie. Edward and I are doing one of the first Learn Live sessions for AI tomorrow. We can put the link in the show notes. If anybody wants to join us, we'll just be walking along with the Learn Live module and adding our delightful commentary as we go along. So that's probably all the excitement for me this week. But Rod, are you in a Danish prison?
I was gonna suggest something like that. I'm in one of those hotels where they're like trying to do this new age thing, new modern look, and everything is concrete, even the floor. So you get up out of bed, it's like you're immediately cold because it's a concrete floor, and I'm afraid I'm going to slip. So I don't know. I think that's just my age. I'm always afraid of falling down at this age. So that makes it even worse. But no, I'm in Denmark. Actually, drove a couple hours to Copenhagen today. This is where I'll be for the rest of the week. We have doing a keynote on Copilot for security on Wednesday, which will be one of the, if not at least one of the very first, very near GA public actual demos and not some of those canned things. So if anybody's listening into this show that wants to yell at me for that, just wait till next week till I get back. But it's going to be a good time. A couple of our good show friends had lunch with today, Morton, and met his wife, but also Other Brody. I had lunch with Other Brody. Had lunch with Henrik today, so that was awesome. Anybody that's been watching the show long enough knows Henrik, and he is exactly the same in real life as he is in one of these StreamYard windows. So just hope everybody wanted to know.
There you go. Well, what was lunch like? Because I'm a foodie. I can be a foodie.
I didn't have a weird lunch. I just had a hamburger. But for dinner, I had Wiener Schnitzel. There was, what was the name of the stew? There's some kind of stew. I forget the name now. And then Morton had, I forget the name of it, but it was like crispy, really thick sliced crispy bacon. So
it's called really thick crispy bacon. That's what it is, right? And it's good.
Yeah.
Well, uh, what day is it? Monday. Oh, nothing. Andrea and I rehearsed our presentation of a sort. Cleaned up a little bit. Enjoying the weather. Wasn't as warm as it was, but haven't really jumped into the week yet. Just when you don't do the things you're supposed to do on Friday, they're there to hunt you on Monday. So, facts. But other than that, not too much. Nothing to do. I thought I had a couple of things I pulled offline to talk about, but I think we've already covered them in the show. A couple of LinkedIn posts, a few other things. There's just so much stuff out there. I'm not even sure. I um, I think I went in and finally read that article using Microsoft Defender for Cloud Apps, User and Identity Entity Analytics, or UBA, for machine learning to monitor Copilot for Microsoft 365 activities. So how about I just post it? This link is not so bad. I don't think it'll be tremendously uh, ravished in the as I post it there. Yeah, I guess if anybody's
That's a big
watching,
one.
they can grab it. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it came from a person I'm actually watching pretty closely on LinkedIn. He put some really good stuff off. Stephen Lim. So if anybody's watching, check him out. He's really big on the Defender stuff, especially around the MDCA stuff. So he writes some really good posts. But before, that's all we got. We continue our month
Yeah.
of women in cybersecurity. We have a really esteemed guest coming on, one of Brody's guests. So we have to behave, maybe. We'll see. Nothing's guaranteed. But if we don't
Well,
have anything,
I have to. I'm going to bed, so I obviously I'm not going to be here to heckle anybody, but I do want to just say how excited I am about tonight's guest. Always heard from and heard about, but never got to talk to, and finally just got to meet backstage here just a few minutes ago. So I think it's going to be a wonderful show. But I'm headed to bed, and you guys will be wonderful.
Rod, you're gonna have to start muscling through. Wasn't this time last year I did the show in Greece at midnight, and I powered through.
Well,
Yeah.
but you
You
also
are a champ.
blame the disconnection on bad Wi-Fi. So
Yeah, I did do that. So you're telling us you got bad Wi-Fi in advance. All right, I
it's
got
horrible, man. It's horrible. Yeah.
it. All right. Well, man, thanks for being a trooper coming on. Get some sleep. Time zone.
All right.
It's a
See ya.
killer. So, without further ado, we'd like to bring our guest on. And she is going to come on and tell us how she has conquered the world of cybersecurity single-handedly. Right? Oh, it is.
Hello, everybody.
hello.
I don't know about single-handedly, but
Brody, you're on mute. Are you going to give us a quick little intro?
Thank you. I'm not good with computers. I appreciate it. Yes. The amazing woman above me is Kozeta Garrett, and I've been working with her on the security service line at Microsoft for a few years now. I'll let her do her own intro, but it's just my whole career has been an amazing, has been amplified at this level I couldn't even imagine that since joining this team at Microsoft. Like joining Microsoft on its own was amazing, and then when I started working with Kozeta and the group, it was like a dream come true. So I'm just excited to have her on, and I'll let her do her own intro, but I just wanted to say thank you for everything before we do that.
Oh, it must be eval time. Okay.
We just passed that, Brett. I did
just
well.
for
Thank
the
you.
record, Brody is not my direct report anymore. So.
Oh, okay. All right. All right.
But I will pay you. I'll give you that $10 later, Brody.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here and really excited that you are holding an event like this, an entire month dedicated to women in cyber for your show. This is very exciting. I currently run the America's cybersecurity services business. And run few teams of consultants and architects like Brody who help customers build resilience in the environments, whether before an incident has happened, so proactively, or after an incident has happened, so reactively. The whole goal is to make their cyber architectures stronger and defendable against attacks. Have a long history, about 18 years of cybersecurity career. So it's been my life, really.
That's awesome.
So, how long of those 18 years have been at Microsoft?
The last 8 has been at Microsoft.
Okay, very good. I, I we all know who you are. Brody talks about you all the time. So we sort of figured like you've been part of the show and been on the show more than once. And he's described his role and what your role is. But when you say you're in charge of the America's Security Consultants, I'm trying to put my head around what exactly is that, because I know we have MCS, but I don't know if they're designated that way. And I know if we have DART, that's not really designated that way. So can you explain to me where that hierarchy is?
Yeah, so what used to be the old MCS, so the Services Organization for Americas, we work with DART, right? So if DART goes in and does some investigation, for example, of an incident, we're the guys that come in to help the customers build resilience so they're not in that boat again. But we also do that proactively, right? So before an incident has happened. So we worked with the product group to make products better, right? So if there are certain features that need to be improved or are not working well for customers, we'll provide that feedback to the product group. We'll work with DART, like I said, to take over from after an investigation has happened to build resilience for customers. And we'll work with the support organization, so support engineers and in that side of the house. We include them in our engagements quite a bit to help us with the tactical areas of our focus.
Okay, that clears it up. I get it.
Thank you. That's a good explanation. So Kozeta, 18 years. Was it always, I'm going to get in security, this is my jam, this is how it's going to be, or what started off your career choice?
It wasn't, no. In fact, I was doing a master's degree in Holland when I found a flyer in my inbox about a call center support technician. This was for a Dutch company called Philips. You probably heard of it. They make hardware peripherals, modems, video, sound cards, monitors, cameras. And the job was really to be a call center support person, right? So I went for an interview. I got the job. I was maybe one of the 3 females in that entire huge call center. And it was really troubleshooting hardware skills that I learned there.
Nice.
But even though it was a male-dominated call center floor, all the coworkers were really nice, and I learned a lot from that job. The thing I learned the most was to not take anything personal, because at a call center, support center, people call angry because something is not working. So yeah.
They don't call to thank you for how well everything's
No.
Oh,
And then they're mad because they've been on hold for a long time. So when you ask them to put them on hold, they don't like that. So then after that, yeah, I was a sysadmin. I was an Exchange admin for a while, and then a Citrix admin, and then I was offered a role as an incident handler for the regional emergency response team supporting the U.S. military and U.S. Army in Europe. That was my first introduction to cybersecurity. And it was shift work. And my first day was, I was on the first shift, early morning shift. And my colleague, who's also my onboarding buddy, was walking me through the process, explaining what an incident handler does and how I would be responsible for piecing together those pieces of information and then determine whether a true incident had happened, or it was a false positive, or what was the scale of that incident, the depth and the width of it. And then from there, he gave me an IP address and the time of a suspicious activity and said, go. So I worked on it for a couple of hours. I really just used my skills from being an administrator and looked at event logs. And then I put together the story, pieced together the story and what happened in the incident report. When the rest of the team came in, the later shift, the afternoon shift, he just said to them, Kozeta did the analysis of the report XYZ in 2 hours. I had no idea if that was good or bad. No idea if 2 hours was good or bad. And then later I learned that that case had been lingering for over a week, so it was good.
I'll hazard a guess that your experience as a collaboration engineer or support person as well as Active Directory help because you know you have to know DNS, IP addresses, who is records and doing that stuff. Did that help everything out?
That
Pull it.
helped tremendously. That literally like had prepared me for that job, and I had no idea. And then from that moment, I was really hooked. I don't know if it was my ability that to solve these puzzles really quickly or and put the story together, or the fact that I've always been a problem solver and I liked solving problems, but I was hooked. And then from there on out, I always was in cyber. I did pen testing, I did analysis, threat hunting, all of that. We had some really good management at that center. I worked there for about 7 years, so in that SOC for 7 years, wearing different hats there, and they allowed us to rotate jobs and do whatever, to do all the other pieces. So that exposed me to how the attackers' TTPs worked. From being a pen tester, right? I learned what they do, right? So when you learn how they get in, you also learn and develop techniques to protect against it. So yeah, that's how I got into it.
Well, Kozeta, I will say, I think this is the first time we've ever had two redheads on the pod. So it's a historic day here for us. And second, I mean, you've been doing this for a long time. I think the way that we have too. What do you think are the biggest cybersecurity challenges and opportunities for our customers out there in the world?
The biggest challenges and opportunities as well. So I'd say today, from today's perspective, the challenges are more related to the AI, the information. Basically, the way somebody explained it to me the other day was information warfare, not knowing what's true and what's fake, that echo chamber. So, if you believe in something, you're fed a lot of that information. So it's continues to reinforce that belief, right? So with the deep fakes and the information warfare out there, I just find that one of the biggest security challenges today, trying to figure out what's real and what's not real. And then the second one really is that I find it extremely challenging today, is the critical infrastructure. I feel like if we don't get ahead of the critical infrastructure protections, and I feel like that should be an emergency for many, many organizations out there and countries, not just in our country, but many different countries. We've seen quite a few examples of some devastations. I think that's one of the biggest challenge, getting a handle of that. Opportunities, using AI for good, using AI for automation and getting ahead of all of those new ways that attackers are using to get in. When you think about it, the ways attackers get in and the kill chain remains the same. Is a matter of what tools are you going to use, the automation that you're going to use to prevent that, those types of attacks.
You mentioned using AI to police enforce because it seems as though I'm hearing why you still need humans to do the things to empower the AI. The actual detections are slowly being able of moving upon our ability to just have experience to really see it, because these deep fakes, I mean, they're real. I mean, you can make movies out of AI now, so you're getting people and getting voice samples and doing all this other stuff. So it looks like we're having to learn new defense techniques as well as combining that with technology more than we've had in a long time, to be able to do that. Because, you know, uh, unless we get a new generation of security practitioners, who are understanding and were born into this technology, it's going to be a challenge for those really trying to get in and just figure it out. I mean, even the techniques that are being used now are complex. AI is something else that's really turning it on. So, you know, 18 years in anything is phenomenal. As you go through your career, how do you maintain two things? How do you maintain your learning, and then how do you maintain your passion for doing this, right? Because I can imagine it can be sort of a little bit, you know, depressing to be always be on the defensive, right? When the bad guys keep getting better and better, and we have to hold serve of a sort. So how do you stay relevant and learning, and how do you don't get burned out?
Great question.
That is a great question. How do you not get burned out? I want to like figure that out. So when you figure that out, do let me know. Sometimes I do feel exhausted, but how do I stay up to date? I mean, things have changed quite a bit in the last 18 years. With the adoption of technology, the epidemic of ransomware, with there's always something crazy and also something exciting that we develop in response to those sort of attacks. And I mean, with the ransomware, right, attacking schools and hospitals and government, right, how do you not try to protect against that and dedicate yourself and all what you have in building new architectures that are defendable against such type of attacks. Staying up to date, really just reading and staying in tune with attackers' TTPs and what they're doing and what they're using to get in. But it's not all about how they get in, right? Because I always say this to my customers: attackers will always get in. They'll find a way to get in. The users invite them in because they read emails and click on links and go to websites, right? So unless you shut down those the internet and the communications, they'll always get in, right? They'll always trick the users to get in. With these AI generated phishing attacks these days, there is no misspelling anymore. So those techniques of trying to figure out what was a phishing emails are gone out of the door. But what I tell the customers, there are a lot of things that you have in control that you can do. And today there is a ton of automation that you can use to take care of some of those protections. One of them is, don't allow the attackers to install anything in your systems, right? There is whitelisting capabilities that you can use. If you're not able to do that, don't allow the attackers to spread through your environment. Don't allow them to move laterally. Don't allow them to escalate privileges. There's tons of tools that you can use for that. Multi-factor authentication, conditional access, lots of things like that we have today. And then, encrypt your data. So I've seen a lot of, unfortunately, I've seen a lot of customers who've been attacked and information has been stolen and then been made public or sold in the dark web. So if that information was encrypted, the attackers wouldn't be able to use it once they were moving it out of that environment. So those are some of the things that, I've been able to keep up to date with, right? From learning, from working, from experiences myself and my coworkers, people like Brody come and, talk about, we have team meetings and where people come and talk about their use cases and what they've been working with customers and new techniques that they're using to automate. Automation. That is what I believe in the most, because you bet attackers are automating their scripts. There is ransomware as a service these days. So attackers who have no skills in being attackers, they are actually attacking you. And then with the threat actors these days being the advanced persistent threat, like whether they are nation state sponsored or organized cybercrime groups, they are taking advantage of the automation. So we must as well.
Yeah, that's the frustrating part sometimes, that these nefarious actors have the ability to access the very tools that are used to try to prevent the things they have, right? When we not necessarily have access to their tools unless we're trying to, deconstruct it to figure out how something happened. But great point. And all the things you said are not novel. We've said this to industries and say, hey, do this, but nobody seems to have a quantitative value of security until you're in the news. Now you want to value security. So absolutely.
It's not going to happen to me until it happens to me. Right. That's and honestly, I don't blame a lot of those CISOs that I speak to when something happens. They'd been asking for funding for many, many years. They've been saying these are the issues that I have that I want to fix, but nobody was listening to them, because, like you say, how do you quantify that the value that cybersecurity is going to bring to your organization until something does happen? It seems like a tax to many organizations. Security seems like a tax until something happens, and then somehow the budgets for security are magically appearing.
Yeah.
It, like, if you have a CISO that comes from another organization who was attacked, they can bring those real life stories to the board. But otherwise, we're all a very reactive society, unfortunately, and it's too bad, because we're working with some customers right now, and we probably would not have engaged with them if it wasn't for the fact that an event happened and now they need help. And so great that we can come in and assist, but it's too bad that we weren't able to get in earlier and build some resiliency, because like you said and like Edward said, the tenets of security, I think, are pretty well known and established. It's how we implement them, and it's how we build controls and capabilities around them. But it's getting people to actually buy into it in the first place and take the time to invest and implement.
True.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, when people ask me what I do, I was like, well, I work for Microsoft. I talk to customers about security and how to secure their environments, and they pretty much ignore me. That's pretty much what I do. That's mostly what I do. So.
I have to say, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'll wait. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I did have, when I came to Microsoft and I was recruited to come to Microsoft, I said, no, I'm not coming to Microsoft. Microsoft is not a security company, and it wasn't at the time. I even went ahead to say that, it was because of Microsoft vulnerabilities that I had a job, right? But then I saw how Microsoft really invested heavily in security, and I came in and I started to play with some of the defensive tools that Microsoft had at the time, and I was impressed how easy it was to configure some of these tools. It was like one click. It was all integrated. It was already built in. I didn't have to spend months to configure the tools. So, yeah.
It came a long way. I was telling, it's a story that Edward probably knows. I don't know if Andrea heard it, but when I was with a partner before Microsoft, we were sent to Redmond. We were flown to Redmond for enterprise mobility and security training, and my jaw hit the ground. I'm like, this is Microsoft, like all these security tools, the ease of setup, to your point, Kozeta, the nice UIs to work with, the cloud native capabilities. It was not the get a pie in the face outside the courtroom Bill Gates, Microsoft I'd known from earlier on in my life. It was the company had turned a corner, and like when I was applying for Microsoft, I was a keener. So I read Satya's book, I read Brad Smith's book, and they talked about how security started becoming like a real major priority for the company, and now it's shaped it in terms of where it's at today. So while you're right, Active Directory brings money in because of, unfortunately, known vulnerabilities if it's not set up correctly, but I think we're working for a highly impactful global organization that can really make a difference. It's pretty cool.
It it it, it 15 years is not a stretch to say that that was really when security started being taken seriously. You maybe take it 20, but 15 is a good number because there were very few companies that had a dedicated security team. It was a networking team that had someone, and that was their duty, or it was this sysadmin role, or the sysadmins, and they had a person that was sort of good at it, and so that was their duty. But now you have teams, and within that team, you have a role. And so now it's a thing that you need to have this team and not just have someone take care of it by committee, right? It used to be whoever sat closest to the firewall, you were the security guy, right? So in the data center, right, you're the guy. But we could talk about that. We've talked about guests like the cure is out there. People don't want to take it, but I'm more interested. This is global, women in cyber. You came up through the ranks. That is a rarity now, right? Anywhere, but particularly among women that are coming in. So you can come from wherever your education background is directly into security rather than go here to networking, which is the way I did, or go here to sysadmin, or go in here to programming. What advice would you give young ladies, women that are coming into the industry as a path to ultimately get to this if cybersecurity is not the open door at the very beginning? How would you? Because I don't think there's a whole lot of coming in as a PC tech like I did, and then help desk, and then they expect you to hit the ground sprinting. So what advice would you give someone trying to get in?
That's a great question. I support a lot of women in cyber programs and activities, and I always tell women who are trying to get in the field or have an idea of that maybe I do want to get in the field, maybe I don't. What is my journey going to look like, right? Because they always worry about this male-dominated field, whether they are going to be able to make it or not. And I always tell them, look, seek the opportunities and take every opportunity given, right? Do not ever say no. Don't ever shy away from something. Put in the time, learn the technical pieces of it, but learn the technical pieces of it, right? And then own it, right? Follow through with it. You will miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Maybe you take that first job and you're not great at it, but if you put the work and the effort, you are going to make it. In security, in everything else, but mostly in security, relationships matter, because if I don't trust you, I'm not going to trust you with security, right? So specifically in security, trust and relationships really matter. So build the relationships, have a networking. I have women from college that I've met at some cybersecurity conferences I would go to support and recruit from. They ask me if I can be their mentor, and I always say yes, even though sometimes it's just really hard to find the time. But I really want to make sure that they feel supported and encouraged to enter the field. I feel like it's always very important as a woman, but also, as a normal human being, to put in the work, right? You put in the work. Most of the time you're going to make it. Don't say no. Always volunteer. I've always volunteered, even if I thought that it was a stretch for me, I always said, yes, I can do it. Yes, I can do it. Yes, I can do it. And maybe I put in a lot of late nights of work or weekends, and that's okay, right? It got me to where I am. So there've been a lot of supporters along the way, male and female, a lot of male, right? Like so many that have supported me and believed in me and trusted me and empowered me. to get to where I am today. I didn't make it on my own. I have quite a few role models in my career. In Microsoft, I can mention Sandra Inman. She was leading the diversity and inclusion, and I had volunteered to be a part of that group. And I just learned so much from her. And most of it wasn't technical. It was about grace and empathy and treating others with respect and making friends and relationships. But that's what it is about.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the, volunteer for things that are probably harder than you think you can do, right? I think constantly challenging yourself, super important. But I will say one of the mistakes that I think I made early on in my career was volunteering for things that did not matter. Like who's gonna organize the Thanksgiving potluck lunch? Who's gonna organize the Christmas party? No, I'm serious. I mean, and as young women, we're kind of socialized to volunteer for those kinds of things. And then you find out later that your boss could have cared less and you spent a bunch of time on something that kept you from actually progressing in your career. Now, absolutely do those things if you think those things are fun. 100% do those things. But I think be choosy about where you spend your time, I guess would be my recommendation on that kind of stuff.
Amen.
Absolutely. Like, what is it that, there's only so many hours in the day, right? What is it that is going to make an impact on, are you going to move the needle on what your goals are or not with the activities that you're taking on? I've been always, when I was a kid, when my friends did jobs like babysitting and stuff like that, I was more interested in propping open a computer. And so, yeah, it's just, where your interests lie, like you say as well, like, what do you like to do? What makes you happy? And also, what is it going to advance your career, what your goals are? I love writing things down and checklists are important for me. And because I see them, it remind me of what I need to do. So I focus on that. These are the things that I've done to meet my goals and check things off my checklist.
I will say, Edward, you haven't asked your favorite question when she was talking about the getting to work with the unified security Microsoft Security Suite.
Well, I was going to wait. I don't want to be
Okay, no, you asked
but since you brought it up, so Kozeta, did I say it correctly?
Yes.
All right. So Brody, you didn't get me on that one. How about that? I have a problem saying names.
Not a lot of people say it correctly, so I give you kudos for that.
Thank you. Thank
Good
you.
job.
So within the Defender suite of M365, particularly, not necessarily the Defender in the cloud, I heard you mention that Microsoft Defender for Cloud Apps was your favorite workload in there. Is that true?
Absolutely.
You led the witness. Come on.
Yes, I led the witness.
Right. That is my most favorite tool.
Well, there you go.
There you go. Okay.
Amongst, others.
There are probably some program people listening to this.
I have to say, Windows Hello for Business was one of my favorites because, it was one of those security features that was not making things inconvenient for users. Actually, it was more convenient for them to just open the laptop, look at it, and log in. Meanwhile, also increasing the security. So that was one of the very few tools that was convenient and adding protections. So it was one of my favorites at the time.
That's a good one. Yeah. No one likes to type in their password all the time. That's like, okay, so you love technology. You're a geek, if you don't mind me saying, opening up computers. So you had to, at one point, your career moving from like analyst, architect, and then to manager and business leader. So what was that transition like from like an individual contributor to a people manager? How did you come across that decision? Do you feel like it was a good time to do that? And what kind of advice would you give to people who are considering making similar moves?
Yeah, so it's funny you say that because initially when I thought about becoming a people manager, I didn't think that was going to be a good fit for me. So I actually spoke to many different managers who were friends of mine. They'd been individual contributors before, and then they'd moved into a manager role. And I literally drilled them. What is it that you do day to day? What is it that you hate about the job and you love about the job? So I asked a lot of questions, and not just to one manager, but I would say 5 or 6 of them. And the one thing that I did take away from that, from all of them, was that you'd be able to have a greater impact. Right now, if you think that your individual impact is great, think of trying to replicate that and trying to make that a lot greater and scale that. And being able to also shift that focus to from just pure technical to more of a business focus, right? What does it make sense for the business to where you're also adding value to the customers? That was really exciting for me, because I was able to still stay connected with the customers and be able to make a difference and solve problems. Like I said earlier, I'm a problem solver. I love doing that. And but also being that, making that into a profitable business, right? Because at the end of the day, we are a business. So that has been very rewarding for me. But to be quite honest, at first I was very skeptical when I first was approached about the manager position.
Yeah, I could see that. I've gone through similar questions in my career, and I know others have done the same. It's interesting to hear that, like Mike, Mike, who our good friend Mike, my manager, same thing. He came from technical background, and he's like, as soon as I got into people management, he's like, I don't know what I'm doing. This is probably a bad move. And he's been great ever since. Sorry, Kozeta, keep going.
Yeah, no, I mean, the biggest fear for me was to give up the technical hands-on involvement. But technology changes like every single day, every single hour, every single minute, right? So sure, and as a manager, as a leader, I'm not able to keep up with every nuance of every change, but I still enjoy being able to be there with customers, be able to help them, be able to guide them, be able to learn from them. So it's been a great journey.
Yeah,
I haven't regretted it. I wasn't sure in the beginning if I would.
all right, that's good. That's good. I'm glad to hear that. Well, we've got an exceptional team, I think. I mean, like, we got an opportunity. Let's plug our team. How good is the team that we work with
The
right
team
now?
is incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, just incredible. The teams, I should say. As you know, we have different teams in our org, and it's kind of impressive to see how we don't have people on the bench, right? So we don't have people who sit around waiting for something to happen at a customer. But when something does happen, people will drop everything they have going on the weekend and jump in and go help, right? We had a case, government of Albania. I don't know if you're familiar with that story. They had a devastating attack, and the group that was attacking them was from a nation state sponsored attacker, several different groups actually coordinating the attacks. And our team was working from across the street from the Iranian embassy, and they weren't worried. They weren't saying, I want to go home, I don't want to be here. They were fully dedicated to helping the customer, working nights and weekends with the customer, taking full ownership of that. Right? So the team is just incredible, and I'm forever grateful to have the luxury and the honor of working with people like yourself, Brody. You've been yourself in some of those very difficult situations, and the selflessness that comes with that is incredible. And I love seeing how, it's all about doing what's right for the customer. And when you do what's right for the customer, it's always gonna come back tenfold. They will always recommend you to other customers. They will always have great things to say. They will keep coming back for more business. So is a very rewarding kind of business, and especially when you have teams like the ones we do.
Well put.
Yeah, I sort of started my career the same way. Once I sort of matured the way that Brody does it, I love consulting because you learn so much, right? It's stressful. It seems like, your boss is putting you on a pink slip project, but in the end, you know, in the end, when you come out of it, even if it's not the most ideal, outcome, you learn a lot, right? And you learn to be empathetic to the victims a lot of time, right? And say,
Mhm.
hey, you know, I don't get upset if I see that you bought the entire, E5 stack and only deployed one product. I don't know your business. I don't know your workload. I just know that you need help now, right?
Yeah.
Now I judge you going forward, for sure, right? If you got us in here, right? Because now you're throwing away money. But yeah, we hear about all these shortcomings and in our industry. And I don't know when the conversation is going to get old where we just can't get enough people. But it sometimes just makes me a little bit sad to realize how much talent of people who probably given up, who decided to go do something else, right, rather than come into our industry. So that's one of the things that bums me out when you see folks who have obvious talent who won't do it, right, because the entry is too hard to get in. Um, are there any advice you would give to us? I think I'm a pretty good advocate and ally, but what advice would you give someone to be able to make them better at making people in the industry more welcoming? Because I think I do enough, but I could do more. I'm set in my ways, and how can I get more people to say, hey, do this and come in and take advantage of this industry because we're on the next technology wave. I don't know what people are age. Yes, I actually do, except for you, Miss Garrett. But this is a big technology wave that can really be really good for those, both financially as well as professionally. So, how can I do better? How can Brody do better? Actually,
Yes. Direct feedback, please.
So I was I was always struck by that starfish story where a boy is picking up the starfish and throwing them in the ocean because the tide has gone out and he's trying to save them. And this old man says, "What are you doing? You're not going to make a difference. It's a big ocean, and there's no way you're going to be able to cover the entire coastline. You're not going to make a difference." And he said, "Well, I made a difference to that one," when he threw a starfish in the water. Right? So start with the ones that are close to you that show them. I had a woman who was going through some hardship. I literally told her, "Look, I'll dedicate an hour a week and I'll show you what it's like. I'll sit with you and I'll get you to, see what it's like to configure Defender, or see what it's like to configure Intune, or to configure Windows Hello for Business," right? So you can see yourself how easy it is, right? Because they don't believe you until they see it. So for me, it's been, yes, go to the trade shows and go to the conferences and have that larger reach, but also the one-on-one communications and kind of getting deeper into what is like. I recommend a lot of the ones that have expressed some interest to go and take a course, like one of the Microsoft courses, right? Or a Security Plus course, or just little steps, right? But those first steps are the most difficult. And once they take the first few steps, even if those first few steps weren't great, they're already a lot further than others who haven't. So the one-to-one connection, I think, is incredible. I have several women who I mentor who are in college, and they don't know if they want to go in security or not. But I think by our third or fourth or fifth meeting, they're way more convinced than they were on the first one.
I love that. That's really good. You
and
got a ton
and
of mentees. Right, Edward, you want to finish? Go ahead, buddy.
yeah, and do the low hanging fruit. Andrea
Yeah.
known me for years, and she knows my motivation. Our industry pays well. It is
Yeah.
it is
I-
worth
yes.
coming in and getting it done, right? And not it's gonna be some hard days. There's gonna be some days you got to study and you don't want to. There's gonna be some days you're gonna be on call. But every time you want to quit, every 2 weeks, go look at your bank account. And I'm ready to do it again. Let's go. You know,
It is true. I mean, we all work for money, right? So we all have financial needs, and the industry pays pretty well compared to other industries, right? So yeah.
and be realistic. Don't come in at the very early onset of you trying to get into this industry and going to think that you're going to make the same amount as someone who's put in the blood, sweat, and tears. Because I tell people, I learn more when I'm off work than I am at work. That's when I go put time in the lab when I go do this because work is stressful, right? Someone's always yelling at you, you're missing a meeting, this, that, and other. But you got to put that time in. That's the thing that I find is something that you cannot teach. It has to be that person, no matter what they do, right? So,
I would
Andrew,
I
I'm
say,
sorry.
always give people homework to create a lab, to learn in the lab, to like that's the least they can do,
The
right? The least they
least,
can do. Yeah.
the least, and
say
and
when
and my
Winifred
bestie
and
on the
I,
call. Oh, go ahead, Andrew.
I say, my friend Winifred and I, she also works here at Microsoft. We do a lot of things with high school, girls, and I would say we need you because, if you think, I mean, they don't even know these kinds of things, but right. So in the beginning, um, facial recognition was like 98% perfect on men, on white men, right? Less on white women, less on African American, less, right? Because who's testing it? The people who are testing are the people that wrote it, who are the white guys, right? Because that's who's doing it, right? Nobody's fault, just we need more people there to do that. Why do you need us, Edward? That's what we did. We showed the outcoming salaries of college seniors coming into the field and showed them that difference of what it makes. That's like, this is why we need you. This is why you need us. And I think those are two really great reasons to have more, not just women, but people of color, all of the different things that we need.
Absolutely.
I love that. Yeah.
Well, we need some diverse perspectives too. I mean, like I love that we've started hiring again recently on our team, and we can bring in people with outside perspectives. We're able to help augment the team's overall knowledge, right? And if you're coming from different backgrounds, you're different gender, you're of different education, you're from different countries, I mean, you're just going to naturally have different experiences to speak to. And we had an offsite in Redmond recently, and I met all kinds of people for the first time in person, and each one of them had their own interesting story. And it would be pretty boring if it was just a room full of people who are just like you. I mean, diversity is important.
Amen.
Yeah,
Amen.
and not diversity for diversity's sake, but diversity so that it makes everyone grow. You know, New to the industry, experience, male, female, white, black, Asian, whatever it may be. When you get people in the room and you have a true exchange of information on how people think, you win. You just win, right? Because how many times that person who's very new is not ashamed to just throw something out there because if you're experienced, you don't want to say anything. Men have a bad ego. That's why we can't overcome a lot of things because we don't want to be the dumb person that says it, right? But when someone just says something, you go, nah, it can't just be unplugged. It's unplugged.
Oh, that's good.
Who unplugged the damn thing, right? Team power path, right? That's it. But I know we're up against. We have 4 minutes. We would love for you to close out the show any way that you like, Miss Garrett.
I'd like to thank you for putting this show together. It really is important that we have the women's voices heard, and what a better time than during the Women History Month. I really appreciate you putting this together. This is great. Um, I I think you are doing a tremendous job with putting out there, building that recognition that our teams are doing this kind of work, and that Microsoft security is something that is has come a long ways, a really long ways, and that credibility and that goes with it is definitely there. But to women in security, like I said earlier, or to women that want to get in security, or they maybe haven't thought about getting in security, but they're listening to this now, give it a shot. Give it a shot. It's a great field. It's been a great field for me for the last 18 years, and I never want to do anything else. It's very rewarding. It's very mentally and financially, to be honest, it's a very rewarding field. So give it a shot. Seek allies, whether they are, looking like you, or most probably it's going to be better if they're not looking like you. So.
And you said something that Maria said, Sarah said on last year's show, and a few others. Go ask. Don't wait for someone to volunteer to say, would you like to come on as my mentee? Tell someone, you're my mentor. And let's get going here, right? And do it. And that way you hold someone accountable, because now you subconsciously, attach your success to their success, right? That doesn't have to be perfect. Make someone take the time out for you to check on you. How are you doing? Are is this what you want to do? What resources do you need? Because if you wait for someone to come in and think that you're ready, they'll never think you're ready. They just won't.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But if I go in and say, hey, you're going to do this for me, and I need you to be, help me do this, and then you'll find out a lot about someone that would then they should hold you accountable. If you ask for it, let's go, right? And let's do it.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Edward,
And it shows that dedication. Yeah.
I will be your mentor. I've given it some thought, and I will be your mentor. I know you've been asking. Thank you for convincing me.
And I will do it because I appreciate you making me the godfather of your daughter. Right?
Okay.
So I get to hold the
baby. You heard it here, folks. You heard it here.
Hold the baby.
Right. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Kozeta, for coming on. You're continually this great month of this. You gave me an idea for next year. I can't say it on the air, but I'll share it amongst my co-hosts. I think I got a good idea for next year. Really good.
I love it.
But please listen to the show. Please promote the show. To anyone out there, whether it be male or female, if you want to come on and just talk, or if you want to come on and co-host the show or share an experience, let us know. We're not set in stone here at all, right? We tend to be last minute panic around here most of the time, getting stuff done.
No, we plan amazingly. Come on, Edward.
Yeah, we plan amazingly.
Impeccably organized. Well, thank you very much, and we'll love to come in anytime and help out any way I can.
Yeah,
thank you so much.
Thanks for making the time.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Until next time.
Till next time. Brody, do not hit the red button.
Oh yeah, I gotta do the thing.
Yes.
Do the thing. Do the thing. Here we go, doing the thing.